some thoughts on you. They ask about you. They search for you. They would like to meet you, to be introduced to you, wish to get to know you, need to define you, want to expose you. Why would they? To me, you are fluid and even elusive. You cannot be fully captured in words and be expressed in a way that feels honest, even truthful. And most of all, you are not important to me. You cannot frustrate or sadden me, for I will not allow you to have that kind of power. Yet, I do not want to fight with you. I will have my peace with you, as I do not know you. There are moments when I wish that you would not exist, that I don't have to think about you, feel you, that I don't have to figure you out and understand you, that I don't have to explain, but that I can just be. You can just be. Even if the whole world around me can accept you, no matter what you are, you still make me feel vulnerable. I get lost in your ambiguity, your blurriness and vagueness. You confuse me, mislead me, leave me, make me wonder, and even get me lost. You hurt me. You run away from me, and I from you. I do not want to know you. Don't be mistaken. You are just a few pages in an endless story. They think that you are such a fundamental part of me, but honestly, you are not. You shouldn't be, and I won't let you. There is much more to life, and there is much more to me. I do not know you, and I do not have to, which is a blessing. By not knowing you, you give me the freedom and countless opportunities to learn, to discover, and to experience. Yet, maybe at some point we will meet, and I will get to know you, but I will not wait for you. I do not need to know you to know me.
Hi, I'm Lee, and I would identify myself as straight, but at the same time I wouldn't limit myself in finding love because of a label.
Hi, my name is Chris Van Eyck, and I identify as homosexual. First, I went through like 10 years of religious education. I was raised Catholic, and I was very ardently straight, or I thought so, because I didn't really know what else you could be, and anything else was kind of strange to me.
What do I identify myself as? In the first video I said I identify myself as a lesbian, but now I'm not too sure. Yeah, why is that? Yeah, it's just labels in general are something very dangerous and stupid, I guess.
I think labels are there to simplify yourself and your life in a way, because I think it helps to give a concrete term to how you feel, and in a way to describe it with just one word. But I think it wasn't very useful in my life.
It took a long time for me to realize that it wasn't just a phase, that it was me. And so for a while I still said that I was bisexual, which is of course a very valid and legitimate sexuality, but I kind of held on to that because it seemed less gay, if that makes sense. Of course it's not, and they're very different, it's apples and oranges, but yes, and then I came out again as gay when I was 17, yeah. Not an official coming out, so to speak, just kind of switched the label and not like many people notice. It took my mom a while to catch on, but it was otherwise really kind of not a big deal.
When I realized that I liked girls, I didn't want to put that label on myself because it just felt so natural that I liked girls that it didn't feel necessary or like relevant to even like label myself as a lesbian, just as I wouldn't label myself as having green eyes or whatever.
I don't think people should label themselves, and that I feel that today is still necessary to label yourself. I felt it myself when I came out. I had to identify myself as someone new because I was suddenly it was someone else, and then I thought, okay, so now I'm a lesbian, so now I have to be doing things that are according to the label.
Sexuality has always been a side of my identity that I've always kind of been confronted with only from people outside of me. For me, it always felt like something that I was never ready to conclusively say, and that I had to just kind of conclude what my own sexuality was based on everything that was being said about me around me.
For me, labels are important. I think they have the potential to give people unity or solidarity in their community. I think it's more or less easier for people who might be, for example, lesbian, bisexual, or gay to find a word that sticks, especially lesbian and gay side, to find a word that describes them because they're very mainstream in terms of language use.
First, it took me ages to realize that I did need to put that label of lesbian on myself, because during a few years I didn't say anything to anyone about my sexuality because I was so stubborn. I was like, no, I'm not gonna follow society in this and like come out as a lesbian. No, I'm just gonna be myself and be cool with it, and once I have a girlfriend I'll introduce her to my parents and friends and it will all be fine and happy and good. But as the years passed, I felt like I was sort of lying to people by not telling about aspects of my life. And I noticed that when family was asking, like, do you have a boyfriend, or like what's happening in your love life, I just ignored those questions, and it felt more and more as if I were hiding something, which felt really unnatural actually.
In my early teenager years, I found out that I found girls beautiful, and I didn't quite understand why this was expected from me to find a good-looking guy for myself, because there were so many beautiful people around me.
In secondary school, for between the ages of probably 11 and 14, I was subject to a fair amount of homophobic bullying, but you know, the associations that happened with that were just because of really simple ways that I associated myself with people. Like, I didn't have as many male friends. I don't necessarily have as many hyper-masculine or stereotypical masculine traits.
I think there's a lot of stigma about bisexuality, because gay people often think it's people who haven't come to terms with themselves yet. And on the other side, it can also be people who are experimenting and that don't necessarily take sexuality very serious. And I didn't want to be identified with those ideas, so I just decided that I was gay in a way. And it happened. I fell in love with a guy.
I would never consider myself to be fully a lesbian. I would never want to label myself like that, but I just realized that at that moment it was more important for me to, because society's expectation was that I would come out as a lesbian and that people would, you know that I liked girls, even though it felt so unnecessary to me, that I decided to come out just for practical reasons. Also because my family just kept asking if I had a boyfriend, which was super annoying.
It was really difficult for me in the beginning, because I told him I couldn't be with him, and I rejected him because I had this clear mindset of myself finally that I was gay and I liked girls. So yeah, but in the end we still decided to be friends, and we got closer, and in the end I allowed myself to fall in love with him despite the label that I had before. So in a way I think the label really restricted my view.
So you know, after a few years I thought, well, maybe I'm gay, because you know, it's been a while since I've fancied a girl. You know, guys are handsome sometimes not, you know, so I don't know, it wasn't something that I could conclusively put my finger on, but I think I was 15 or 16 when I came out to my parents as gay. I mean, I've always been really lucky to have parents that fully support me in whatever I do or feel about myself. So, for a while it felt like, okay, this is where I am now. I'm gay. That's just where my sexuality lies right now. That's okay. I'm just gonna, carry on living like that. I mean, the bullying subsided, as it does eventually when you learn to kind of ignore it or not let it affect you as much, even though that's a hard thing to do. But more years pass, and then I think, well, hang on, I still haven't had a relationship necessarily with a guy, and I haven't felt it to be as important or important in any sense in comparison to, say, having a relationship with a woman. And so where do I stand now with my sexuality? Does that even mean I'm gay? Does it mean I'm asexual? Because if asexuals don't experience sexual attraction to other people, maybe that's what explains me.
If someone would ask me today, how would you label yourself? I would say, well, I like girls, but I don't want to, put myself into this box and say, well, I just like girls, so I can't like anyone else anymore. And yeah, I think that's just a thing that is still present today, that people need to put people in boxes so we can understand, because people like to organize and categorize people in certain boxes according stereotypes. And I think that's something that will change over time again, because I mean, we've made major steps from the history if we look at it.
What I've learnt is that labels can only be useful when you've had experience and you've had certain moments happen to you in your life that help guide your understanding of where your sexuality is heading. And since I haven't necessarily had as many of those experiences, I feel like it still might be limiting for me to say, hey, I'm gay, hey, I'm asexual, I'm this, I'm that, I'm in whatever category that exists and has a fully formed definition of what it is, because I don't have a fully formed definition of what my sexuality is and how I form sexual romantic relationships with people.
But yeah, I labeled myself a lesbian because for 95% of the times I fall for a girl instead of a boy. Yeah, and I know it's going to be awkward when maybe one day I will fall in love with a boy and have a relationship with him, and then it's going to be complicated, but for now I'm just not going to think about that. And like, yeah, I'm happy that I came out actually. I feel more easy, I feel more quiet, I feel more calm, I feel more confident.
If you're asexual, pansexual, non-binary, it can be harder for you to find vocabulary that describes you to people that might not know. And there's a lot of joy in finding a word that describes something you've been feeling, and finally realizing that it's a legitimate thing and it's not just you, and finding a community that exists like under that label. So I can empathize enough with that to think that labels are important, but of course I realize that they might not be exactly complete or perfect, but I think they can really have value.
I still found out over the years that I'm just attracted to people. Well, not to everyone, of course, but I just fall in love whoever I fall in love with. And that's why I don't really like to call myself bisexual, because it's not like I fall in love with girls and boys, but I just, when it hits me, hits me. And yeah, and I think it's also not really appropriate to say bisexual, because I think I could fall in love with an intersex or transsexual person as well. So that's why for me labels aren't very useful. But
I do think that coming out in the future shouldn't be necessary, because it's so unnatural, and it's such a social construction, and it will so much reinforce these ideas that being LGBT is strange and being LGBT is like a rare case. But I think that's right now, I felt for me personally it was necessary to come out, and I think like in the future it will be like our challenge to change this having to come out.
think for now and for the future, I'm just gonna leave it completely open, because who knows what will happen tomorrow. You can't predict what will happen with your relationships. You might meet someone who you never realised, or you never even conceived that it was possible you could have a relationship with, and then you do, and it's wonderful, and it's more amazing than any other relationship you've ever had. So I feel like, for me, it's limiting anyway to put a label on my sexuality, but for others it's helpful. So I think, so long as you remember that you just need to go with whatever works for you. And for me, what works is not limiting myself to something that I haven't even had enough experiences to conclude that is where my sexuality lies. So for now, I'm just going to say I don't know, and that's okay.
I think it's still necessary today to say something like, okay, I identify as a lesbian or gay or whatever you want to label yourself as. And I hopefully, I mean, that will change, and people will just say, I don't know, like, I just happen to fall in love with a girl, or happen to fall in love with a guy, or happen to fall in love with, I don't know, pick something, but that's something for later, I guess, and something we have to work on ourselves too, because when I came out, I felt I need to label myself as well, because I thought that was the way to do it, and to be, so like the whole process of coming out and putting yourself into this other box is something we did ourselves as well, and I think we should break that through and change it.